Let's talk about reactive abuse. Reactive abuse is when the person who is in the victim position of receiving abuse finally snaps and responds in a counter-abusive way to the primary abuser, generally referred to in old kind of universal language as fighting fire with fire. So first, let's make sure that we've covered the fact that in that position, the reactive abuser is often very confused about what they're doing, why they're doing it, who the bad guy is, and further complicates them getting wound into the situation and disoriented about what's going on. And I want to be very careful to say very clearly that the reactive abuser doesn't necessarily need to identify as a narcissist or an abuser or someone who has ongoing issues with those habits and belief systems per se. However, it's also important to consider some other parts of this as well. The first issue is in the short term, it's really not a sound strategic move. We're already operating with someone who is not treating us in good faith and is treating us abusively. So giving them any more grist for the mill, any more reasons to make it easier to be coercive and manipulative and use shame and fear and confusion to keep us on our heels, that we're really going to want to minimize doing that. So the more that we can stay very balanced and not giving them any kind of information or reactions as much as possible, the better for us in the short term. The long-term issue is that even when we get out of that relationship, and hopefully we do, and after we're going to have a trauma bond and we're going to have to figure out what all that was and how to move forward as a human being with other humans again. And a part of that is going to involve dealing with replicated versions of what we experienced as our brain's compulsion to repeat and integrate and figure out what that was and feel in control of it. So the less that we play into it as a reactive abuser, and the more that we learn to back up and balance our own central nervous system, stay attuned to our own goals, our own personal integrity, and remain non-reactive, make sure that we're only responding and being very intentional as such, the easier it is to heal ourselves on the back end because we have less confusion about how we might have gotten wound up into the situation, even fighting fire with fire, and have some areas that are very confusing for us and linger even longer about the role that we played in that in figuring out our own healing journey.